Black space is a place for us.
Real people with real issues.
Discussing real topics.
Black space.
A safe space for our community.
Hello, I'm George Middleton, your host this evening on this podcast episode of Black Space Live. For the topic of our discussion today, we are going to examine part 2 of the question, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? I'd like to take this time to briefly encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. In other words, don't be selfish with this content. Share the love. You can catch Black Space Live on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Spotify, Twitch as well. And you can catch us on Anchor FM, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Now, let's reintroduce our stunning panelists for this discussion today. Our very educated, intelligent, and intellectual group, and might I also say, beautiful panel this evening. So beginning with Lakita, please let the viewers and watchers know anything you feel you want them to know.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Lakita Bill. I'm a Sacred Woman alumni. I'm also the artist and creative director at 528 Hertz, where I create jewelry and fashion accessories. My background is in financial planning, where I have my life, health, and annuities license and health insurance license. So if you need any direction on life or health insurance, I can help you out.
Well, welcome back, Lakita. And
Thank you for
Desi.
having me.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me back. I am Desi. I'm a blogger over at juteandolive.com. I am a former due diligence underwriter. I did that for 20 years for the mortgage industry, and now I'm a full-time blogger. So follow me at juteandolive.com on social media at juteandolive, and I am in the contest for Fab Over 40. So follow me at Fab Over 40 and vote for me. The voting begins on October 10. Thanks.
Fab over 40. Well, you can't be in that. There's no way you're over 40.
I'm 40.
Somebody's cheating. Well, you got my vote.
Thanks.
All right. So we're going back into the second part of this discussion. The first part was very dynamic, insightful, and I really enjoyed that presentation with you all. It was just great chemistry, and I love the way that you two think. And during our distance between us, in between episodes, I came across this article that I thought would be relevant to taking this discussion regarding the question, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free, to another level. And the title of the article is What Husbands Want in Wives, the 5 Qualities Men Look For in a Wife. So beginning with number 5, sexual fulfillment. Number 4, recreational companion. Number 3, physical attractiveness. Number 2, domestic support. And number 1, admiration and acceptance. So there are subsets of criteria under these 5 points that they go into in detail, but I won't read them out right now. We'll integrate them into our discussion as we go along. So, ladies, how does this these 5 qualities strike you, resonate with you, either in agreement or disagreement?
Well, the first quality, admiration and acceptance, really resonated with me because I found that in our community with Black men, um, maybe pertaining to the way they're raised, they have an issue accepting admiration and acceptance because of receiving it. Because, um, in my opinion, as for the most of them, they seem to feel so disrespected within the society as a whole that even when you are approaching them from a place of admiration and acceptance, they cannot feel that and receive it. So I think that's interesting to me. And I think that if it goes hand in hand with the inability of Black men to make that commitment as far as marriage, then that could be playing a little part in it.
Interesting. Lakita?
You know what? I'm going to take a different approach with this. I'm going to refer this to my husband. When we first started talking, we only spoke. Just going to say we dated in his 20s, early 20s, where he was just coming back from being overseas deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan. He wasn't in a space where he was ready for a relationship, so I broke up with him because actually the problem was, as we figured out after we got back together this time and got married for real this time, was that he did not understand why I actually loved him and liked him so much. Like you were saying, this he wasn't really ready to receive what I felt for him right away because he didn't think of himself that way. He just came back from war. He was in a place of emotional turmoil himself. So you're coming to me and I'm showering you with all this love and adoration and respect and just awe. And I'm in awe of the fact of the things that he's done and been able to pick back up and come back. He didn't see it that way for himself. And it kind of pushed him away from me. And it pushed him in the wrong direction with the wrong woman. Um, and he went through it with her. And at the end of that relationship, he looked back and was like, you know what? I had the one, but I wasn't ready for her. So he threw this fishing rod back out there and said, hey, in my DMs on Facebook. And I was going to ignore him, but Spirit was like, be nice. So I was like, hey, very dry. And he was like, well, you know what? Let's get married. I'm like, I haven't talked to you since 2015. What are you talking about? So that admiration and that respect, he knew it was there. So we started talking, and then 3 months later, he came to Tampa, and I would say he came in December. He proposed in February. So he knew at that moment that's what he wanted. He wanted that type of respect that I gave him, and not only that, the companionship, recreational partner, all of those things that you name are aspects that currently are in our relationship. So I agree with everything that you said that's on that list of this is what men are looking for. But they have to be in that place of acceptance and really ready themselves to receive love like that, to have a successful relationship, or it'll immediately get toxic.
Agree.
So both of you are in agreement that your men and men in general just typically are not in a position emotionally to receive this admiration and acceptance. That's an interesting twist. Yeah, I have to say that experience, I don't think I'm sure it's possible, but for most of the men that I've spoken with, and just judging from my personal experience, they're usually in a position where they're craving that admiration and acceptance. It's like it's something that they have to fight for. It's very rare where I hear guys speak of, she was giving me what I wanted, but I just wasn't ready for it. But let's examine that. Let's examine it further. In this area of admiration and acceptance, the article states, it's not just about if you can laugh at his jokes or not. Do you admire his business acumen? Appreciate what and who he is as a person and as a man, as well as what he stands for. One of the worst things you can do is judge a man, especially when it comes to his past life before you. He isn't asking for forgiveness. He's merely seeking your acceptance. If he can become comfortable in divulging who he's been, then you'll never have to guess who he is. So that's the perspective that you're taking. How does this further explanation hit you guys?
I want to say I agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, just from things I know, a lot of times when they say I'm craving that love and respect, they're looking from it from somebody who just don't have it to give. They got the wrong person that's that has the wrong idea as to how you treat a man and don't really understand husbandry or how you treat a man that you love and admire. It's coming from a toxic place of what can you do for me? Or from a toxic place of just they don't know how to have healthy conversations that involve affirming words to your partner. So that is kind of the situation that my husband was stepping out of, was toxicity. That's what he knew, and that's what he gravitated to until he was just like, "Look, this isn't working. I need this, and you can't give it to me." And that's a lot of the thing. A lot of times, y'all know I'm gonna do my city girl reference. These men get these city girls that's wild and out here wanting a bag and some nails, and they looking for a wife for her. And I'm like, her mindset is too immature for what you're trying to dress her up as. She's got a lot of growing to do. So what you're looking for her to give, it's just not there yet. She hasn't got her grace. So a lot of the problem I think is just from my husband's experiences and going through therapy with him and myself was, you're looking for that love and adoration for somebody who just don't have it for you and really, quite frankly, don't have it for themselves outside of the material things they dress themselves up in, right? They put on that persona. That's what they love, but when they take it off, they're empty inside. That emptiness transfers over to you in your relationship. So I think it's just their love, their direction as into what they're looking for, being very, physical and fleshy. They're not really being heady in their decisions as into who they're bringing into their space to build their legacy with. This is your legacy you're talking about. You can't
So,
just have that with anybody.
so you mentioned the term city girl. What is the alternative to the city girl? What do you call that person?
I'm gonna say the alternative to a city girl is a grown woman, because the word girl ain't no girl here. I'm a woman. I'm
So
grown, grown.
city girl versus grown woman.
Hmm.
Okay. So are all the women in the same resonance as you two? Would you say this describes the average woman, the attitudes and opinions, or your embracing of the number one admiration and acceptance? You feel that this is a natural ability and interest in women in our community?
Well, I'm going to go on and say that, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you just fine.
Okay. I'm going to go on and say that, I want to approach that from a different angle than what Lakeith was saying, which is, self-respect. And I have I got something going on here. Sorry.
We hear you, Desi. Go ahead.
Okay. When it comes to what we as men and women crave from our spouse or our potential spouse, I do believe that that is something that we have to carry inside of ourselves first in order to be able to accept it from another person. So, as Lakita was saying, if you're saying that you want to be a respectable man, but you're chasing city girls, then have you even developed that self-respect for yourself that you're saying that you want in a woman? And the answer to that is no. So I know that list of things that you're reading off are attributes that a man wants in a woman, but first and foremost, those need to be attributes that they have within and for themselves. I've dealt with men and I've dealt with my own husband. I've been married to my husband for a long time. And when I met him, he was a young man, obviously, he was 21. So I definitely know that path, and I've seen it firsthand through him and a lot of other men that I know of you wanting respect, but you don't respect yourself. You don't respect your own business acumen, the education that you've worked for, your own contribution to society. So no matter how much that person, she could be a city girl. City girls, are not all bad. Just like Lakita said, she had her city girl phase, and but that's not the whole entirety of who she is or who she has been. But at the end of the day, if you don't have self-respect, respect for yourself, your own accomplishments, what you're building, your legacy, then there's no woman that can come in and fulfill the void of respect. You're always going to feel disrespected. And as I follow these podcasts online, I hear Black men a lot say that they're disrespected. This person's disrespecting them. And in my opinion, that just comes from a place of having a lack of self-respect.
Does every woman go through the city girl phase of development, or do some women? Is there a group of women that just bypass city girl phase and go right into grown woman stage?
Well, I think everybody goes through that phase of what we're calling a city girl phase, or city boy, as they also call it, where you just, some cultures call it sowing your oats or
Right.
Rumstead. You're young, you're trying to figure yourself out. You do have those insecurities that you have to work out within yourself. That can or cannot be a time to meet a person. I was able to meet my husband, and we worked through a lot of our own personal insecurities together to get to where we are now in our 40s. In Lakita's instance, she met the person that she was there to love, but they had to separate and come back together after they grew. So in my opinion, yes, everybody goes through it. It's not even a cultural thing. But you can't be in that place where you don't know yourself, you don't respect yourself, you don't know what kind of woman you're going to be attracted to. And then you're putting all this extra emphasis on women that, oh, well, you guys got to love us. You got to be there for us, respect us, and show, what was the number one again? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting.
Admiration and acceptance.
Show admiration for us and accept us. Because there's no acceptance that anybody can do for you, man or female, if you don't accept yourself.
So when men are in a dating frame of mind, we're not thinking, okay, I'm going out looking for my next wife. That's typically not our mindset. And depending on the stage, our stage of growth, in the early stages, we're just looking for the experience. We're looking for a good time, hanging out. We're not really looking for commitment. That's not on the forefront of our mind. I don't know how the city girl's motivation in that is. However, it sounds like we're going to go through city girls initially. That's city girl stage initially. If the city girl is providing that experience, and so to say, giving the milk, does that present a problem for the grown woman?
No. I don't totally agree with what you're saying,
Okay.
because when I met my husband, I met him when I was young, in my 20s, 21. And I was in a bit of a city girl phase myself. I had this college sweetheart that had just broke up with me, broke my heart. And I was in a city girl phase of my own. Like I didn't want to deal with the relationship. Now, when I met my husband, he literally was, I'm not saying he was looking for a wife, but maybe he was, but he was looking for a relationship. He definitely told me at that time that he was the kind of person that wanted to be in a relationship, and he wanted to be in a relationship. He didn't want to just be having a casual encounter. So I can't necessarily agree with your take on all men, because my situation has also been the opposite. Because also in my situation, I am the product of a single mother household. So I have never really been looking for a relationship. I always thought that maybe I would probably get married just because I know the story, of how the love story goes. But everybody in my family had been single parents, as well as my mother. My grandmother was not married. My mother was married and divorced when I was 4 years old. And so that was my normal. My husband, people probably don't even realize my husband is more of the reason why I'm probably still married to him after all this time, because he is the product of a two-family household. So he doesn't believe in that cut and run type situation. So I think you can find, as far as giving the milk when you're in that city girl stage, I honestly do not think that giving the milk has any bearing on what a person is looking for long term in their life. And I don't think just because a person is giving the milk, so to speak, that is Xing them off of the list as being a long term potential mate or soulmate or spouse.
Lakita?
I agree, Jesse. Being a city girl does not X you out from being a wife. As you guys, some think it was like a little thing going around saying city girls are winning because Cardi had Offset, and it looked like Nikki had her guy. Everyone, all the women they call fast or were hot girls out here twerking, they had men on their arms, they had their ring, they had their guys. So I don't think that the city girl phase will X you out from being wife material, because it's all about what that man is looking for in a woman, what qualities he's looking for while he's dating that woman. When I was going through my, as I call it, my whole phase, I was pretty much going through a period of self-discovery, and I wasn't really, I'm going to say I wasn't taught properly how to date, or I didn't have any idea on how to be with a guy and not leave them if they made me mad. I was a runner. I was a track star. I had the wings on the back of the shoes, baby, and I would leave you at the table while we're out for dinner. Literally, like, I gotta go to the restroom and be on the phone calling a friend, like, girl, come get me. I'm at XYZ. Then I'll come and get my food and have them pack it up and take it to the bar. Where'd she go? Oh, she gone. She been gone. Yep, I would leave you there because I just didn't have time for it. I was looking for something. I didn't know what, but I knew I wasn't gonna deal with no craziness because I was too crazy myself at that time. So it's too much clashing going on. I needed someone that could ground me and give me the family I did not have, and give me that support and love that I never got in my family. And I knew that being in a toxic situation with my temper, it wasn't going to work because it was going to be some fist flying. So I kept running. And even while I was in my whole phase, I married my first husband, Jerome, and we stayed married for 10 years. But that was a struggle too, because guess what I did? I left him and came to Florida. I left because once again, I knew what I wanted in a relationship, and I wasn't just going to settle and sit there just for the sake of saying I'm a wife. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave, and I'm not going to deal with that. So I divorced him, and right after MacArthur popped up and we got married. Now that I know what I want, and I know myself better, having gone through those relationships, I'm able to be in a stable relationship with Matt. So I'm saying all this to say I think sometimes, and when I'm teaching my daughters it, and I don't know if this is the right direction, but I really feel as though in our early 20s, we should not be dating like for long-term relationships. We should be looking for those dating experiences so we can learn ourselves better and learn what we want out of a partner better. And as we get closer to our 30s, start looking more toward a serious relationship because we're getting grounded that child in ourselves. So that's my take on that.
Okay, so I'm experiencing a cognitive dissonance here because I hear what you're saying, both of you, and I believe personally you may be having those qualitative experiences in your relationship, but the statistics don't show the type of attitude that you're expressing in our relationships in general and in our women's attitudes specifically towards their men. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of disrespect. And not just for the guys who are out there not really caring. I'm talking about the guys who putting it on, laying it down, trying to be that first line of defense for their women. And yet they catch the most hell from the woman they're trying to, lay it down for. Just in the regular everyday experiences that it takes to have a relationship. Having a relationship is a most challenging thing. A long-term relationship is the most challenging thing you can do next to raising children. To be in and day out with the same person and to see the good, the bad, and the ugly with each other. That takes some work. And I hear you from a psychological perspective, mental health perspective. Of course, you can never fully get the respect and acceptance you're looking for without first accepting yourself. But even in those cases where you have, for the most part, a psychologically balanced man, these dynamics occur. Women tend to give their men generally a difficult time. It's almost a battle for who's leading. And
so what's the statistic on that you're quoting?
The statistic on that?
Mm-hmm.
The statistics revealing the number of single parent households, the rising trajectory of the Black woman's progress versus the flattened or lowering trajectory of the Black male's perspective on average. The Black male is declining. 52% of Black women are making more money than their Black men.
And you say that the trajectory of the Black male's progress is based upon Black women disrespecting them?
No, I didn't say that. No.
So how does it?
The Black male's progress in terms of trying to accomplish his goals in this country
is based on Black women not respecting them?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just trying to see how the two relate. Because you said that the statistics does not show what Lakita and I are saying it has been our experience.
The statistics do not represent that. The statistics represent a deep division between the men and women in our community,
Mhm.
more than the alignment that you two are speaking of.
Right. And I think that comes from us trying to use a system that wasn't built for us in our relationships. And I spoke
Hmm.
on this briefly last time we talked. That letting a man lead thing, that we're meant to work together as a partnership. This is a partnership here. Whenever we are together, I don't have to lessen myself as a woman in order for you to be empowered as a man. And I think a lot of men are not aware of that. I don't have to have less education. I don't have to make less money for you to be fully empowered as a man. I really think Black women have been empowered through their mothers and through single motherhood. The women have literally worked together and pulled up our generation. So this is work that women did themselves without their partner's help. So that's where that anger is coming from. I had to go through college without your help, Dad. I had to watch Mom not have groceries because you were out living your life as Peter Pan while Mom worked two jobs to pay the bills and take care of me. A lot of that anger and animosity just comes from the absence of our men, and our men really feeling like that we have to be less than them in order for them to be successful. And that comes from domestic violence. That comes from a place of violence against women. And that's really important that we understand that, because Black women, we are subject to a lot of violence in the hands of our own men and in America in general, amongst men of all colors. We are the number one targets of getting hurt here, whether we're a woman or a child. So I really think and know in my heart that if men did the self work and help pull themselves up the way we've done, we would be on an equal status. Okay. When I say I went through my hot girl phase, I got on the stage, George, and danced for the first time as a dancer because I hadn't eaten in 3 days. I was coming out of foster care. My mom and dad were not present in my life. I had a diamond moment, Players Club moment. I had to do what I had to do, but I did it and I don't regret it. And I only speak on that because that part of my life just speaks on the brokenness and the non-support I had from my father, who should have been there to help protect me during those times, and my mother, who was absent because of drug addiction. I did what I had to do. Thank God that my grandmother was a praying woman, and those prayers protected me on beyond her passing. Okay, some powerful prayers, because I was able to get myself out of that life and elevate myself. But again, all of that comes from a point of like domestic violence, that AB relationship. I don't have to live under you for you to be a man. So we have to make sure we're being clear in the language we're using here when we're speaking about the success of a Black woman in Black men not really measuring up to the things that we're doing. We're going through it, but we're pulling each other up in the process.
So again, it sounds very lofty, and I hear where you're going. And in theory, I agree with you. But in terms of application, it's just not the reality. You speak of your earlier days. Uh, describe describe the typical guy that would be in that environment to be entertained. I'm sure you see all types. Describe the typical profile for the gentleman that would go for ladies' night, a night out with the guys to enjoy that type of entertainment.
Okay. I worked in a high-end bar,
Hmm.
and it was a majority white clubs I worked in,
Hmm.
typically because I did not want to be on stage dancing all night. I figured out quickly from the first time I danced in a black club. I did not like the experience. Even though I made a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot of money, I did not like the fact that I had to dance all night. So, from having worked in both environments, you deal with two different types of men that
Okay.
both have two different types of A and B personalities.
All right.
And so from a culture standpoint, with our men, the men I dated there wanted a woman that looked good at any cost. They wanted that trophy and they wanted to impress other men.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really necessarily about what I did or how I made my money. It was about, oh, I'm dating sugar. This my woman. You see her? This is what I got. It's more of to floss with your friends.
Right.
And it didn't lessen my value anymore in my relationships because I would leave them. Look, I don't have to deal with you. I got my own bag. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to hold on for dear life while they were dating me during that time of my life because I
Uh-huh.
would break up with them. But on the other aspect, with being in the white club, I dealt with the white savior mentality. They all wanted to get me out of there. They all wanted to take care of me and put me up in an apartment and pay for me to live the soft life and not have anyone see my goodies ever again. And I lived that soft life up until I got pregnant with my oldest daughter about 15 years ago. So that pretty much took me off the stage. Was older guy, was an older white gentleman that paid for everything, and I all he wanted was a girlfriend experience. And I learned very quickly that a lot of women, it's all about what you say to a man and how you treat them, as into what you can get back from them. So I learned that gift just from dealing in the white club. It's about how you carry yourself and how you speak and how you act. It's not about how you tease their mind or you dancing or you're naked. They don't care about that. They see that out they naked on the beach on vacation, okay? They naked at the nudist resorts with their friends having lunch. That's a part of their culture. But they want is something that they're not getting, which is respect, which is you being able to be grateful for everything you're doing for them and showing them that gratefulness. So those are the type of men I dealt with in that lifestyle. And it taught me a lot about men, which is one of the reasons why I was a runner, because I didn't have to deal with it. I was like, I'm gone. But like I said, I don't regret having done anything that I've done. But just being able to see the two different types of mindsets of the black man and from a white man, I learned a whole bunch about the types of level of I guess disrespect they both had for women, but how they did it on different ways.
And were all of these men single, or were a lot of these men married as well?
Some of now the guy that took care of me had an arrangement, believe it or not. The white guy had an arrangement, and he was old, like 60 plus old, and him and his wife had an arrangement. But when I was in the black clubs, we dated exclusively. There was no other woman. I was that woman. But could they keep me? No, because I'm not going to deal with no craziness. We're not going to fight. You're not going to be playing on my phone. No, I'm not going to be dealing with that. So I didn't really stay in long-term relationships with my own men. And because of that, I had a disliking for my own man, which is why I ended up marrying a European guy, not even white American, European, two different types of men. Okay.
Right.
I
Right.
ended up marrying a foreign man, and it was just a different type of adoration from him. He had an obsession with Josephine Baker and equivocated that to me. So it was more
Okay.
of a fetish. I realized I was being fetishized, and it was too late after I had been married. And so that was a weird experience. It was strange to know that. So it's different types of men depending on the culture that they were coming from.
And so your belief is that the men in our community, respect and admiration was not a high list. It was just only how good you looked.
Baby, if I walked out and I had on something that showed off every curve and had that wig on looking good and face beat to the nines, baby, and nails done looking good, they would take me around the world, take me, walk me up and down the mall, buy me anything I wanted. But the moment I picked that fro out and to wipe that face off and dress down, I wasn't anything they wanted. I wasn't anything that they were interested in. As a matter of fact, they couldn't believe it was me. They meet me like, hold up, who are you? I'm like, it's me without all the flashy stuff on from work. And they'd be like, oh no, I thought you was this dream you were selling on stage. And I'm like, nah, baby. When I'm dressed down, I'm just a regular old chick with a blonde afro. So
Mhm.
it was. I met men who did not mind the natural, real me, but the problem was getting a man who could accept that I transform into someone else at night, and that's not who I am. That's a fantasy.
So, excuse me. So did that have an impact on your perception of quote unquote black men?
It did.
Tell
On
me.
top of the experiences I had with my own father and my grandfather being negligent men, like
Mm,
walking out, my dad left
mm,
me, his dad left him. So there was a generational curse of men just being neglectful men. And then walking out of that situation into adulthood from foster care. And now I'm depending on a man for survival at this point, right? But what I didn't realize is I could survive on my own, and I did not necessarily, you're running into this now, need that. I didn't need that financial support. I didn't need that father figure I was looking for. So I became empowered and got my bartending license. And a year after that, in 2009, I got my insurance license. That's when I picked up in my life. I never looked back. My first check, I made $3,000 selling life insurance. I was like, oh, no more clubs for me. I let that life go. And that's kind of how a lot of women are coming onto their independence. They're realizing they can have all the financial success they need and don't have to just settle for just some guy because they're looking for stability. They're looking for a partner. They're looking for love. They're looking for a real love connection. So that is how I ended up where I'm at now with a man who I can love and respect, but also can understand all the things that I've been through and how I got there because he's got a past too, you know? So,
so I'm listening to your experiences, and to me, it makes, my the perspective I'm sharing with you is, it seems to be reinforcing the fact that your experiences, which influence your perception of the black men,
mhm.
is more negative than the experiences and your perception of the white or European male.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
I
baby.
mean, that is a lot what it sounds like because I find that a lot in our a big issue with that topic that you're talking about, which is adoration. A lot of women and men in our in our culture, they seem to definitely glorify that other white or European man as more deserving of respect or giving them that kind of image that they want to be respected. I don't find that white men want to be respected any more than black men want to be respected. They both want a nice looking woman on their arm. That's not something that's mutually exclusive to black men. So that kind of concept that, oh, well, black men, they just want something that look good, but white men, they want the respect and they want the adoration. That is a big disconnect between the men and women in our culture and in our community.
I went and I want to make sure you guys understand something. My experience with being married to a European man and having dated and being taken care of by a white man, it was not about, like I said, there was an A and B relationship on both ends of the spectrum. It just looked different with the European men. They wanted me to live under them, and I had to be under their control, which was financial control, financial abuse. I pay your rent. I give you allowance. I control you financially, and I experienced that with my relationship with the older man that I had an arrangement with, and the older man, the European man that I had married. Both of them did the same thing to me, and it took me having to be in that relationship and start working through, hold up, I'm going through the same thing where I'm having to live under a man financially, and I don't have to do this. I can make my own money. What am I doing? When I snapped out of that and moved away to Florida, I came to a domestic violence shelter here in Tampa. And I say I let go of everything because I realized I was in a financially abusive relationship. Everything I had came from my husband. Even when I worked, I still had to make sure I took care of everything. And then also any extra that he gave me, it's like I was, or you being ungrateful. I would get that a lot. It was abuse there. Trust me, it wasn't any better, but it was just a different type of abuse. And I was expected to do like not so much as far as the showmanship that black men expected me to put on whenever I went out with them or whenever they saw me. It wasn't as much expectation there because just the fetish of them being with a black woman was enough. I didn't have to put on the mask or put on that persona they looking for. I could be soft and I could be quiet, but it came at a price.
So I understand your perspective, and I'm with you on the nuance. I'm still trying to still compare it to this the statistical reality, and
Hmm.
I like to add another angle on this because it seems like the uh, criteria number one of respect and admiration kind of overlaps with criteria number five, which was well sexual fulfillment, um, because both of them are kind of bookends. You know, sexual fulfillment on this end, respect and admiration on this end, and often it seems as if from a male perspective, and I'm sure women have this same experience from their perspective, but maybe with different emphasis, that you can get a beautiful woman who, because she's beautiful, may not feel the need to give all of the acceptance and admiration because her beauty, she is to be admired. Uh, or you can get the woman who may not be as sexually fulfilling, as physically attractive, but man, she is laying it down with, I got you. I got what you need. What, you know, before you even reach for the cup, it's filled, ready to go. Um, it from the male perspective, it seems like it's really challenging to get both of those.
Mm, I wouldn't say I agree with that. I think I've been hearing a lot. I want to talk about this. A lot of our brothers saying they're getting a passport to Dominican Republic, and they going to the Dominican Republic because they want a woman to feed them, and so they can't eat no more. And as soon as they cup get half full, here comes the cerveza. They pulling it back up with more beer. You need more drink, Papi Chulo. I got you. They loving on them, right? They going to DR. They dumping us and going over there because that husbandry has been taught. But at the same time, that's survival. They look good, yeah, But at the same time, it's the same thing I was dealing with when I was out there and dealing with a white man. It's that survival mode they go in. They're in survival mode. They're staying pretty, they're staying cute, they're doing everything it takes to get that American dollar so they can get over here and get that citizenship. And after 2, 3 years, Poppy, you getting divorced. And she going back to DR and getting her man and bringing him over. Got a whole family with him. She done left behind. It's the whole big mess that unfolded. So yeah, I don't know if I don't think it has anything to do with looks as into whether a woman is going to be appreciative or give you the adoration that you're looking for. My granddad would say, "Oh, you got you a good girl." If somebody was ugly, oh, okay, it's just me talking. But I don't think that's the case. I think that um, a woman, George, are you there? Are you there? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Well, it looks like my audio is just fine. Hello, can you hear me? I can hear you. All right, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? I hear you, but it sounds like you're far away. Hello? All right.
Okay.
I hear.
Are you there
Okay,
now?
there you go. Yes, I'm here.
All right. I don't know what happened there. That was a weird. And then Capri said she got booted out, but she can't get back in.
Oh man,
This is just a weird night tonight.
it is because the conversation's getting too deep. We're digging. We're
We're
getting
getting in
to the
there.
root.
This is getting good.
Yeah. Oh
All
yeah.
right.
I
Okay.
don't mind
So
lending my experiences and life things that I've been through in life because baby, I've been through a lot. And if I could tell my story and tell what I've been through as far as being a dancer and having dated men outside of my race and being fetishized by them, it can help another young sister it's trying to feel her way out in life like I was. It'll help her possibly not go through a lot of BS I had to go through because I didn't have guidance.
yeah, you definitely have a story. You have a very interesting story, and I love the depth that you go in how you recount your experiences. You have a very spiritual approach to those experiences because everything's spiritual, even if you're not intending it to be.
Hmm.
If from my mindset, everything is of a spiritual nature. Um, let's see. Let's look at well. Hopefully, Desi can make it back in.
Hmm.
Um, Capri Joel asked the question: what about a double income household? Invisigo says, I'm hearing so much stuff that I want to respond to, but you guys are moving faster than I can type. And yeah, so yeah, Invisigo was on our episode last week,
Okay.
and she was laying it down. She was throwing in some good stuff. So welcome back, Invisigo. We appreciate you.
Yes,
Caprice
absolutely. Thank you.
Capri Joel says that she can hear us, and hopefully Desi can get back in.
Yes, bring sis back. But as I was saying earlier about maybe it's a woman that's not as attractive that's being appreciative. I wouldn't say I agree with that. Mm-mm. Not with the way these men are acting about the Dominican women. Oh, and now I can't hear.
Sorry about
There
that,
you go.
Lakita. I was just speaking with my producer, who's letting me know that what the technical challenges are that he's hearing, and so he was just
Okay.
trying to keep us on board.
Okay.
So he's going to try to work on getting Desi back in,
Okay.
but we fixed the audio problem. Now we just got to get Lakita back in. Um, so I still want to make the tie here between uh, admiration and acceptance
Hmm.
and um, sexual fulfillment. I know a lot of guys that are in really crazy relationships because there's such a strong sexual chemistry. The chemistry, physical chemistry, is so strong. Um, but
Mm-mm-mm.
there's nothing more from there, right? There's nothing more from there. And there's guys who are in marriages that um, that sexual kick is just not there. It's as if the uh, the wife has shifted into a different pattern, especially if she's had children. She's shifted her priorities from glad to have you back, Dizzy.
Welcome
She's shift
back, sis.
she
Thanks. I don't know what happened there, but thanks.
yeah, what's going through her time. Must have been a hurricane. So I'm saying, Desi, I'm still trying to make this connection of this contrast between acceptance and awareness on one end for the male and sexual fulfillment on the other hand. So they're like bookends. And I was sharing with Lakita that I know a lot of guys who are in really strong sexual chemistry relationships, but every other aspect of it is just chaos. No, the communication's bad, the respect isn't there, the willingness to work out things together, just not there. But man, when it comes to the bedroom, it brings it back. The bedroom is the only thing that ties them together. And then you have the woman who is willing and able to do all of these other things outside of the bedroom, but just doesn't match the the sexual fulfillment in, no matter how hard she tries. So it just seems like there's always a challenge there. And that in long-term marriages, it seems as if the average wife mindset is that number 5, the physical sexual fulfillment, goes lower down the order of priority, because it's kids, I got this to do, I got that to do, I don't have time for your little 5 minutes of passion.
Right. Well, my opinion on that is that, hey, when you're talking about being sexually fulfilled and everything else is bad, that is the textbook toxic relationship that we hear about running rampant in our community. And as a community, we're going to have to address, is the sex that important? Because let's say 10 years, Lakita's been married, 16 years, the sex goes up and down. It's you're not going to be married for that long and just be having your height of sexual energy. That's just not going to happen. But as Black men, other things have to take priority as well. And as Black women, we have to realize that number 5 does matter greatly to men, to our men, which is, hey, we hear this all day long nowadays, this whole body acceptance, accept me how I'm supposed, no man should tell me how I'm supposed to look, but you want that person to be attracted to you. How can that person be attracted to you, want to support you, want to protect you, if you're not fulfilling their needs, which their needs are, as we hear, very, very physical, very outward. They want that appearance that they want to actually see. They don't want to hear about how great we are on the inside all the time. So as a community, yes, I feel like it's toxic. The sex has taken the number 1 place above adoration and respect, because we see men in our community gaining lots of wealth, and by their sexual prowess, we see that that's the only thing they're focusing on, and it's a problem.
Interesting. By the way, I need to make a correction. I have been referring to Invisigoat as a female. I think I said she. And Invisigoat says, because I was complimenting Invisigoat for the contribution to the last week's episode. And Invisigoat says, thank you. And in all caps, he though. I'm a he. My bad, player. My bad. Well done. Well done. So you pose the question or the challenge that we as a community have to address this question or this issue: is the sex worth it? And in order to do that, I think you have to be in a emotionally mature position at that time to think like that. And as we're speaking, one of the things that we don't do well in this country, we don't prepare our children and each other for the most important thing that we're going to do in our life, which is have a relationship.
Right.
We treat a relationship as if, it's just like riding a bike. You fall a few times, but then you just won't forget how to do it.
And just to piggyback on that, even what you were saying, this kind of seed that we place, which is that, oh, well, a relationships, that's the toughest thing that you're ever going to do. I've done so many things in my life that as a young person, a teenager, the things I've been through, I would have never thought that I would have to go through some of the obstacles. And I can say that by far being in a relationship is not one of the most difficult things you have to do in your life. It is not. It is a ongoing, constant gardening of a situation, but there are a lot more difficult things that we can possibly go through in life than being in a relationship and working and communicating with people and learning how to get along with people. I mean, that's just for us to be saying that, it, as Lakita might say, as a community is low vibrational. For us to be saying that just getting along with one another, being able to commit to a long-term family, distant family members, and just a long-term family commitment is the hardest thing that we ever have to face.
Well, I don't know. I hear you, but again, when I in my work, I work with families. I work with couples. It's challenging. It's very challenging. And again, statistically speaking, we're failing.
It is challenging, but by far it's not the most challenging thing. People have homelessness. Right now, I have a member of my distance family, one of my in-laws, that is online a lot, saying that she's going through a very serious bout of not being able to live. She has several children. She doesn't have a place to live. I've in my past, I have actually mentored one young girl that was 18 years old that had a child. She was in and out of the shelter. That is more difficult than working together with somebody. That life right there, that we're kind of pushing our girls out to say, no, leave that man, you don't need him. We don't see that flip side of where that girl is in that woman's shelter with that baby, and that baby is sitting there around strangers, be they women molest kids and everything too. There are lots of things that are going on in our community when it comes to the family unit, that this idea that being in a relationship is so tough would mean if we would stop propagating that idea that being in a relationship and attempting to make it function is more difficult than being homeless. I had a young girl named Bree that was sleeping at the bus station with her baby because she was wanting to leave the father. And I guess she was living with the father and the mother. And these are things that a lot of us as women, when you say that me and Lakita may be, a little bit jaded because of our experience, I still know the experience of women. And at the same time, I would never recommend somebody sleeping at the bus station with their baby unless it was a domestic situation, just because they don't want to be with a man.
I didn't say that, excuse me. I didn't say that you two were jaded. I said that you two have a different experience, a different perspective. That's compared statistically. But no, I don't think you both are jaded. I think you both are very firmly rooted in both aspects of the reality. However, I still see a tie between those other things that are you quote as more challenging. They come from relationships. That homeless person is the product of someone's relationship. It's all relationship tied. Everything we do is based on relationship. And you can pick the system, you can pick the area, you can pick the context, but ultimately it comes back to the kind of relationship they experienced. And
Right.
relationships can make your life much easier or much more difficult based on the experience you were put in.
Right. So
That's
your
true.
statement was that we were failing in setting our kids up for for the thing that was going to allow them to hold their lives together, which is relationships in general. Because when you talk about the failing Black man statistically, You're talking about work relationships. It's not just women that they don't know how to have a relationship. They don't know how to have
Everybody.
a relationship with men at work. They don't know how to have a relationship with children. They just don't know how to have relationships in general. And all relationships are seeming to be very difficult for them, not just sexual relationships between men and women. All of their relationships are failing.
Mhm. And Jesse, when you were speaking about the sister who had to sleep at the bus stop, who was homeless, that was me. I was that person. And the reason why I chose to leave my husband, who was financially, I didn't have to work, okay? I chose to leave him instead of being under his financial control, along with my baby. I had someone else before I got married also. I chose to leave him, go to a whole other state to be in a domestic violence shelter because of the fact that I wanted more. And I wanted to show my daughter life was more than living under a man. Life was more than what you're seeing right now. I'm so much stronger than what you're seeing. I want you to see me go birth through it and come out on top. When I got my insurance license, I got that $3,000 check. Baby, I got out of Alabama and came to Florida with the quickness to a domestic violence shelter. It was one of the hardest things I did. As soon as I pulled up to the sheriff's station, I boo-hooed, cried. And I saw women in there that had been getting behind beat. So I felt like financial abuse wasn't like that bad. I'm like, what did I do? Why did I leave my comfortable home to come here to be by myself? But I realized I wanted more for my child. And I wanted to show her the right example. Like Joyce is saying, I wanted to set her up for being able to say, I saw my mom be in a healthy relationship, and that is what I want for myself. So I made those choices and got to where I'm at now. So again, I was that woman who left and did not want to be in that relationship and continued to run with the track shoes on until I found what I wanted because I did not want to settle. Because if I settle, my daughter is going to settle. Everything my grandmother went through is going to be in vain with dealing with my grandfather and his domestic violence issues. I got to make good on everything the devil took from her and take it back and have it in my life. So I fought to make sure, therapy and all, we went through it. So in order to work out myself and work through all the problems I had from abuse in the past from family, to be able to be where I'm at now, where I'm able to have a conversation with you guys openly about my past and how things went wrong, how things could have been better. We are not preparing our children for relationships the way we should. And more importantly, our black men really don't have the emotional intelligence they need to have friendships with boundaries with men and women and being able to make those connections in order to excel financially that we're able to make as black women because we're seen as less threatening to a degree. I guess, we're chameleons. We can change our face in any crowd and get what we need out of an interaction business wise and be able to take that to the next level. And I'm not really seeing that out of our men. So I need for them to really learn how to have relationships that are healthy. That's one of the struggles my husband's been going through. One of the things he's worked on in therapy was learning how to be in a relationship, how to have friendships that have healthy boundaries.
Okay, so at the end of part one, I made three assertions that, especially as it pertains to our community, the male-female relationship is the foundation of our power. The second assertion, the African male is under constant systemic attack. And the third assertion, the African female is not capitalizing on her primary key resource, her African male. There you have individual pockets where that's occurring, but on a systemic and collective level, we're not doing it. We're last place in all of these quality of life systemic categories. When I read the 5 qualities that a man is looking for in a wife, you two both seem to instantly resonate and agree. But again, That's just not collectively the case in the application of real life relationships. It's just not happening. It doesn't matter what level of socioeconomic status is either. There is a dysfunction between our male and female. And so I think we're going to have another discussion on this, because the feeling that I'm getting from both of you is that you kind of see that there is a disconnect, but you don't really see it. It's like what I'm feeling is like, well, yeah, that's there. They just need to get that together. It's not my problem, really. He just got to get himself together, and then when he gets himself together, he can get from me those things he's looking for. Am I hearing you incorrectly there?
Personal accountability is first and foremost important for our men. They have to be accountable for themselves. They're not their mama. They're not their mama. We can't raise them. It's their job to do the work like we're doing the work, and be able to elevate themselves to where they need to be. Now, one of the things that I can say is when I came to Tampa, anytime I got with a man, I caught a setback just by even being in a relationship. I had a setback of some type just by dealing with one of my brothers. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be very selective and take a step back and sit down somewhere. Because I can't afford an L. I can't afford anybody that is a liability to me in my life right now. I fought hard to get here and to get on my feet and to get financially stable. And I can't be with anybody that's going to cost me anything that I work hard for. Because that jealousy, when they see that you're successful and the need to want to pull you down, it is real, okay? And I've dealt with that. So because of that, I took a step back from dating altogether. So when that hit me, I hit him with a dry hey, because I wasn't quite there right then. I wasn't willing to date at that moment because I didn't want to take a L. And that's a lot of the reason why a lot of our sisters are very, I'm not going to date right now, or very selective in who they're dating, or maybe looking for a man and looking for the wrong attributes because they dated for love. They looked for someone, and every time they took a loss, and they had to rebuild everything they've been fighting to build up on their own, which was difficult to begin with. So in order to capitalize on our men, we need for them to have that backbone a little bit stronger and their head screwed on a little bit more tight, to where they're not unstable to the point to where they're costing us in some kind of way just because we're in a relationship with them. Just because of the fact that you're requiring lots of sex and I'm not giving it to you, now you're cheating. That's sexual abuse, right? So now you're out here in the streets because you can't do what? You can't control yourself because you lack what? Boundaries in relationships and boundaries with your physical person. You get what I'm saying? So we're dealing with a lot of unstable minds and a lot of men who have not quite grown up yet. And it's unfair that we have to deal with that. But that's just the state of our communities right now. And vice versa. There's some immature women out there that thinking some man is going to come in and give them everything they want and they don't have to do anything. There's some people out there like that too. So you can find both people on both ends of the spectrum. But I can say because of the success of the Black woman and the financial success and how we are healing in mass, we need our men to join in on that journey and meet us halfway on that. We have to, like I said, now that I know what I know, we should not be dating in our early 20s. We should not be in these serious relationships. We need to be dealing with our traumas and getting to know ourselves and what we like first, and then reserve our later 20s for serious dating and looking for a partner or marriage if that's where our life path is taking us. But not everybody needs to be somebody's husband. Some of y'all need to stay by yourself.
And also, in agreement with that, I want to throw that question back on you, George, because I know you said that Lakita and I are saying like, well, that's not our problem. And honestly, I'm a firm believer that it's not our problem. As women, we are nurturers. We nurture our sons. I have a 3-year-old son. He loves me. He treats me almost like he thinks I'm his wife. He's always coming to me, telling me how pretty I am, kissing me, hugging me. It's a very special relationship that women have with their sons. And it's only until I had a son that I realized that no, a woman cannot raise a man, because we're going to be way too soft. Our sons love us so much. And you don't want to hurt your children in general. And you definitely don't want to hurt your son or give them those hard lessons. But we're the men like yourself, well dressed and presenting, that are teaching these boys how to be a thoughtful man, a responsible man. Where are these men in our community that are now becoming millionaires and billionaires? My question a lot of time is, why are these boys and men, young men, still wayward? On one hand, we have all we hear about is how all the Black guys are becoming millionaires and billionaires. And then over here, we have a strong disparity of men that have no idea what to do with their lives, only know how to use their phallus and their private parts to get attention from women. They have no idea how to sustain relationships. And yeah, it's offensive. Again, the question is always posed to us as women, well, what are we going to do about that? And somebody just needs to say it. We don't know what to do about it. We don't know why men are not feeling innately that they need to get up and compete with white men and Indian men across the world. We don't have any idea why. We're doing it, like Lakita said. We're getting up. I see women, which this greatly annoys me. I'll see a woman dressed nice like Lakita or in a business suit standing next to a man with jeans and 1,000 chains on, and they're the same age. And I'm just thinking, like, why does it always seem like we're married to some man child? And when are the men that are saying that they're doing all this business and making all this money going to really step up and change this?
All right,
because it's not okay.
So let me ask you a question then, to both of you. My second assertion was that the African male here in America is under constant systemic attack. When I say that, how does that really resonate with you guys? Do you agree with that? Do you acknowledge it? Do you think it's not that big of a deal? What's your honest opinion on that?
The attack is on both. It's not just Black men being attacked. The attack is against the Black woman and the Black man. And it's so subconsciously done. It's done so slick. It's in our media. It's in our advertising. It's in everything that we look, to the point to where it becomes even subconscious. The amount of abuse that we're taking in visually, it is okay. For instance, every Black man got a wig on and is making a joke out of being a Black woman. What's up with that? I got a problem with that. I'm not a joke. I'm the mother of creation. How dare you wear a wig and make fun of me? And then want to say you a man too. That don't work. That's not cute. So the attack against the woman is very real. We're not even allowed to be cisgender now. They gave us a whole new name. So there's a whole different war that we're fighting as women, and Black men are fighting a war as well. So we are in our community. It ain't just them that's going through it. We're going through it too. Just the fact that even having womanhood is being stripped from us, and it's being given some new identity now. So we're going through things ourselves as Black women. I really think that Black men are under attack, but they don't act like it. They're hey, y'all want to talk about it and complain about the white man this and the Black woman that. I need for you guys to stop being victims and stand up on your two like we are doing and put in the work. You are the most dominantly genetically strong being in this world. You came from men who could not die. They worked your ancestors so hard, but they did not die. They broke them. They mentally broke them. They raped them. They beat them. They survived, and then had children that survived that. So you come from some strong roots, okay? Why are our men so bent over and such victims? I have no idea. But I really think it's the subconscious programming that is America, that has the Black man hypersexual, immature, and feeling as though they're under attack by the one person who's been in the streets fighting for you during the George Floyd movement And during this Black Lives Matter movement, we were at the front for getting our behinds beat because we were tired of seeing you guys getting gunned down in the streets. We wanted our Black men to have the respect. So we are there fighting for you, but the respect wasn't given back. It was more of a, hey, thanks for that. We back to our regular programming, going back to being in the streets with these women and acting like little boys now. There was no progression. There was no adoration given to us for that. It was more like they expected us to put our necks out there. That's what we're supposed to do. And there was no love supposed to be given back to us because they are numb to our pain. They've been taught through cattle slavery to be numb whenever we hurt and whenever we need them. That mental programming, that needs to be addressed. And it's not going to be addressed through better health either. It's going to be addressed through Afrocentric therapy, meaning going to a therapist that understands the plight of the Black man and willing to address them where they're at and not from the white mental health community standard because they come from some weird science. Okay, that stuff is stuff that we really need to get our Black men on their feet. I'm done with that.
Desi, what would you like to add to that?
I definitely agree with that. I feel like that whole statement that the Black man is under constant attack is definitely a victim mentality. And I will even make it more controversy and say that the Black man is held the least accountable for any of his actions in America by white men, white women, and Black women. Nobody can question the irresponsibility of Black men without getting this whole spiel thrown at them about how Black men are under so much duress, and they're not.
Okay.
The average Black man is not sitting around under duress or getting beat up by the cops for that matter. They're hanging out, they're victimizing women, they're using sex as a weapon, they're making fatherless children. And then you have those couple percent that I asked about earlier that are doing business. But then we make a hero of these George Floyds. We make a hero of these people that are going to be a part of our history. That's our history. I have no disrespect for George Floyd, but I have not much respect for the fact of burying him in a gold casket if he was a thief and he was a drug addict and he was in a relationship with a woman of another race. When history is retold, a person that's buried in a gold casket is a king. The way they just buried the queen with all of the pomp and circumstance, that's a queen. So now are we saying that we're so low that George Floyd is our king? I don't think so. So there's a lot to unpack when it comes to this idea around all Black men being in this tortured state. The last king that we had murdered was Martin Luther King. He actually stood for something, made laws and changes. Decades later, the next king we have is George Floyd, somebody that is accused of being a junkie, accused of being a thief, and he gets buried in a golden casket. I would like to hear what anybody thinks about it. It looks like our kings are going in a downward trajectory as well, the people that we revere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is why I like to deal with these issues from a therapeutic perspective, because both perspectives have merit, but the goal is always how do you resolve it? This discussion deserves a third part, because my analysis on this is that from the female experience, I'm trying to say this in a way that it's received correctly. From the female, so when I say I'm going to bumble through this, so give me some because you guys are putting it out here, so I'm trying to process this on the fly.
Okay.
When I make the statement that the African male is under constant systemic attack, it wasn't your first reaction to empathize and understand. Your first reaction, and when I say this, it's not a judgment, it's just an observation. Your first reaction was to say, well, so are we, which is true. But there's an implication that you're receiving it as if I was saying that African male is under constant systemic attack, but not the African male. And so there's a mindset there that contributes to a mindset in that response that contributes to the further division between the male and female in our culture. It shouldn't, to me, a natural response would be, or a healthy response, not a natural response. A healthy response would be, is that what's going on? I really empathize with that. And did you know that that's happening to me too? Which is different.
Well, you can't empathize. What was the word you used? You can't
Empathize.
You can't empathize with something that you don't necessarily agree with.
Right. Exactly.
Pandering to Black men is not necessarily the go-to position for that anybody wants to take. We have been pandering to. I'm sorry.
And that wording right there is case in point. It's because first of all, you're not really embracing that fact that the Black male is under constant systemic attack.
It's impossible not to embrace. We are Black women of Black men. How could we not embrace our own systematic oppression? If a Black man is getting oppressed, the Black woman and the Black child is also. So
right.
it would be impossible for a person to say that, oh, you don't embrace the fact that Black men are being oppressed. We are of Black men. We are also being oppressed. The division comes when a person says, in this case, Black men are being oppressed. That's the division. So
why didn't you lead with that? Because I agree 100% with what you just said there. If the Black male is under attack, then logically the Black female is under attack.
Because you led with the division. You led with the division that the Black man only is under attack. So that makes a person defensive. And Lakita I would follow up with a defense.
So hear me again, because that's exactly what I'm speaking of. You all received that statement as if it was an accusation that the Black woman has it easy. I never said and never implied that there's nothing happening against the Black woman. In actuality, it's everything that you just said. If the Black man is under attack, then by pure logic, the attack is on the Black woman and their children.
Right, but our community needs communication skills, and things have to be spelled out, because you understand that and I do, but I hear podcasts all day long of people feeling like Black men only feel under attack and Black women only feel under attack. So in the climate that we're in, yes, I would hear it that way, because I hear men saying,
I understand.
That. I mean, and then they go on the statistics. 1 second, because I know you have some more to say, but they go and use the statistic that you quoted early about the success of Black women to justify the fact that we're not under attack, because you guys have the good jobs. You guys are getting into college. No, it's us that's under attack as men. So in general, in the climate that we live in now, when I hear Black men say that, they are not talking about us as a whole community.
So again, because I resonate with what you're saying, those things do happen when these discussions occur. They're done in a more of a finger pointing scenario. And I think that that's how most people, when I state these facts, if I don't say both sides, then it's perceived as if it's an attack. And that's the first area of our thinking that needs to be addressed. You know, there has to be more empathy in this process. Statements that say, well, they have to get it together. You know, if I'm here, you know, as the Black man, first of all, I don't identify as Black, so that's another discussion. I try to stay within my cultural framework. I identify as African, and I identify as an American. But as an American of African descent in my community, I'm obligated to protect the women in my community. And I know the game. I know that the attack in any society always comes through the male first, because the male presents, if the male is 100% whole of sound mind and physical body, he is a source to be reckoned with. And what has happened is we're so normalized in our division. We're so normalized in our dysfunctionality of perspectives of each other that we can't empathize with each other. So we're quick to be defensive about this attack, rather than to come together and embrace that the attack is occurring. So I think that this really is where the rubber meets the road. Even though this is about why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free, all of this that we're discussing leads up to that. So typically, let's see what somebody in Visigo stated: the Black man has been far more likely to be systemically hunted. The Black woman has been victimized as well. But this is a sexist society. The men are perceived the power, so Black men have had. I'm not sure if I read that correct. So Black men have had it worse. Now, I think that those last several words, Black men have had it worse, that's a subjective statement. You can look at it, you know, how do you really quantify or qualify the trauma that each person has?
Well, that's another separatist statement, because again, like we're saying, I know you're saying that we need to learn to empathize, but communication is 90% of our issue. Mm-hmm. Words are important. Mm-hmm. It's important to specifically say we both are under attack. We all are under attack, not just assume that where I'm coming from and where you're coming from, you're going to understand the things the same way that I understand them. You're going to understand that I means we, and you actually mean they by another word. And that is a big issue with that in our community. Communication, and then, as the commenter just said, trying to divvy up the level of pain that we are receiving from this society. There's no, of course, even if I went along with the commenter, of course men are going to have it worse. Why wouldn't they have it worse? You know, they're built to have it worse. They're going to be the person that's being attacked. Women are going to be the second layer of attack if you're attacking a group of people. So of course men are going to have it worse. They're pounding down on Black men. But are Black men standing firm in protecting us from the pounding? No. They're coming and saying, well, we have it worse, so stop complaining. I guess that's what we business. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth.
Well, I agree. Go ahead, Lakita.
I agree, Jesse. I have listened. I've witnessed firsthand within my own family the pain of a Black woman being normalized. But the reverse, when it came to the Black man in our family, we were going through it. The Black man in my family was going through prison, going to prison, going through a pain.
Lakita, let me interrupt you for a minute. That your stat, there's something going on in your channel in the stack. I know you're saying something really, really qualitative there, but there's something static there. So here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and close this up, because this definitely deserves additional discussion, because I'm feeling all of Desi's passion. Desi's like, oh no, we ain't about to have this right here. Let me set this straight. And then Lakita is like, Lakita, I think you resonate, but you're coming. There's some differences in how you are perceiving it, but for the most part, y'all on the same page about this divisive experience that we're having. And again, I was saying that I'm coming. This is why I come from this from a therapeutic perspective. It's like marriage and family therapy. Everybody has a side. But now, how are we going to resolve it? And in order to resolve it, it requires both sides are able to understand and accept each other. And so when you mentioned, well, you can't say one without the other. You have that communication is powerful and words have meaning. True, but before the words, there's a philosophy. And when you said that, it reminded me of one of our African philosophies of Ubuntu. I am because we are. That's the mindset. So when I'm speaking, like when I'm talking and I'm bringing out these statistics, it's never in a finger pointing way. It's never to say, well, look at us and you're not experiencing that. If I hurt, you hurt. If you hurt, I hurt. That should be our mindset. But what we're doing is we, unfortunately, are trying to say whose hurt is bigger, whose trauma is worse. That's a more divisive, and not to put down the Visigoth's statements, because I would say I agree with 98% of what he stated. It was just those last few words would probably send somebody down a different path, because now it begins to say, well, mine is worse than yours. But there needs to be more ability for understanding and empathy, rather than you got to get it together. Don't expect me to try to do it for you. Rather than words like you're being a victim or you're pandering. Those are words that, even though you may feel them, they're not words that lead to a unifying resolution experience. So I really want to bring this back, because I can see Desi. Desi is, I'm seeing it in your face, Queen. I'm seeing it. You got a lot to say on this, and this is what's going to make our next show on this very, very powerful. So we're not gonna end with any words of affirmation for this. I just want to leave this in a pre-resolution state, because we do need to resolve it. But we've created the tension, and we got everybody thinking, where's this gonna go now? Ooh, Desi's mad. Ooh, Lakita's got her back. What's George gonna do next? George looks like he's losing. Watch out. Well, you will have to come back for part 3 to see the finale. Desi, Lakita, you two are great. You bring it, you're authentic, you're real, you don't hold it back. That's what makes the show. And you all are beautiful. I mean, what? That's the total package, man. You can't beat that. So this has been great. Have a great week. And until the next time we meet, we will see you in the black space.